just a few days, we will be gathering together to celebrate Hanukkah, another celebration of light during a year that has had more than its share of darkness. Now this year, thankfully, I hope that more of us will be able to gather together with friends and family and community to celebrate the holiday. But as we know, our world is still not back to normal. This is, of course, a profoundly symbolic holiday which reminds us about the ways that we encounter darkness and challenges in our lives, and more importantly, about the ways that we can hold on to hope and light. I'm reminded of the classic debate that we find in the Talmud that's relevant to this Hanukkah, to this time of year, one that you've probably heard before. So there was an argument between Rabbi Shammai and Rabbi Hillel about the order of lighting the Hanukkah candles. And at its source, this conversation is about how to best keep the world full of the spirit of light. So we read, our sages taught, the mitzvah of a Hanukkah candle is for one person and their household, and for those who enhance, a candle for each person. And for those who really enhance, Beit Shammai says, on the first day, one lights 8, and from then on, one continues to decrease. And Beit Hillel says, on the first day, one lights 1, and from then on, one continues to increase. Why do we do it this way? As we're later told, the reason for Beit Hillel was that we increase in holiness and we don't decrease. But there's another Talmudic discussion which adds an extra level to this idea of adding light. Can you take one Hanukkah candle to light another? Usually, of course, we take an extra light, the shamash, and use it to light all the candles. But suppose we don't have one. Can we light the first candle and then use it to light the others? So two sages of the 3rd century, Rav and Shmuel, disagreed. Rav said no. Shmuel said yes. Normally we have a rule that when Rav and Shmuel disagree, the law follows Rav. There are only 3 exceptions, and this is one. Why did Rav say you may not take a Hanukkah candle and light the others? Because, says the Talmud, you diminish the first candle. Inevitably, you spill some of the wax or the oil. And Rav says, don't do anything that would diminish the light of the first. But Shmuel disagrees, and the law follows Shmuel. Why? Rav is worried that by passing on our flame, our light to others, we will lose part of our own light. We will diminish our own spiritual power. But Shmuel pays attention to the unique power of light, that we can pass it on to others and it doesn't diminish. In fact, one of the unique features of light is that once it's created, it can continue to flow into the universe indefinitely. When it comes to the spiritual, the goodness that we can bring others, the more we share, the more we have. Now sometimes in the Torah too, the smallest and most seemingly insignificant people and moments can have the biggest impact. This week, we begin the story of Joseph, the Torah's longest continuous narrative, and of course one that's been made into countless movies and plays. As the story begins, we're told that Joseph's father, Jacob, loves him more than his other sons, which, as we know, has made Joseph's brothers hate him, so that they could not speak a friendly word to him. Genesis 37:4. Joseph then has dreams that predict that he will rule over his brothers, once again making them angry. Finally, his brothers are gone, and Joseph's father tells him to go search for them. And this is when we have to pay attention to the details. We read, when Joseph reached Shechem, a man appeared to him, wandering in the fields. The man asked him, what are you looking for? He answered, I am looking for my brothers. The man said, they are gone from here, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. With this important information, Joseph goes to Dothan and finds his brothers, who proceed to throw him into a pit where he's sold to traders and eventually ends up in Egypt. And we, of course, know where the story goes from there. He ends up working for the Pharaoh, interprets his dreams, which slowly leads to a series of events that take place, which eventually lead to the rest of the history of the Jewish people, including the Exodus from Egypt, the story of Passover. And why did all this happen? Because this man, an anonymous man, and a profoundly minor character in the story, helps Joseph find his brothers. In a moment of Joseph's darkness, he passes on a bit of his light. One simple question, a few kind words, and the entire history of the Jewish people is changed forever. Now there's a temptation, as we go about our lives, to always believe that we have to be the best and the greatest in all that we do. We want to have the biggest impact on others and on the world, and we want to make the greatest change. Sometimes we want to be famous, other times we want to be rich, And many simply want to do work that is meaningful and to be happy and healthy. No matter where we stand, we can and always should aim high. But we can also gain strength from the fact that sometimes the simplest acts can often have the greatest impact. This is why Jewish ethics asks us not to care only about changing the world and fixing what is broken in our society, but also stresses the importance of the minutiae of daily lives, the little doses of light that we create through our daily acts. We are reminded to guard our tongue when we speak and to take care in our relationships. We're told to remember and bless the small moments of beauty we encounter and make a weekly holiday to focus on rest. We focus on these little acts so that we can have the spiritual strength to achieve greatness. If we start with kindness, focus on blessing, and if we pay attention to the needs of others, then we can't help but bring goodness into the world. These may be small acts, but this is where compassion and this is where light starts.